Dear students, in the last class, I was discussing with you all about internal trade, and we saw how the internal trade was conducted within the boundaries of the country in different aspects. Now, today's topic is very interesting topic, and it is all about how international trade is to be conducted. You all know the meaning of international trade. I have explained you in the last session in detail. Now, let us come to the subject like why we need international trade. Can we survive without international trade or we cannot? The answer to the query will be we may not be able to survive without international trade. The reason is no country in the world is self-dependent. Every country has to depend on one or the other country so that their country, their economy can develop. So that would be the main reason for having the international trade deal. Apart from that, we come across a theory of comparative cost, which says that, as I told you, no country is self-sufficient, or we can say they are not enough capable to depend on themselves, because there are host number of factors, like they may have the abundant resources, but they may not have the technology to utilize those resources. Let us take the example of Africa. Africa, it is a dark continent. We call it as dark continent, but I don't know why the people gave the name dark continent to that particular country. In fact, we can call it as a bright continent because it has abundant of what? Diamond resources, which we know. But the panic part is what, dear? They don't have enough technology to extract it. Or we can say that if they want to use the technology, they may incur more cost. Like that, the theory of comparative cost advantage is also the one reason for the international trade. Apart from that, the natural resources. One country may have abundant of natural resources, as I gave you the example. Similarly, the other part is international trade. It brings harmony. It brings good relation between two countries. It helps to exchange their culture with one country with that of the other country. It helps to exchange the currency. It helps to have a good relationship with other countries. And all these, it leads to the need for the international trade. Then coming to the international trade. As you know, there are three folds of international trade. Of course, the third, it falls beyond the purview. The first one is export and import. Now, how to conduct the export trade? How to conduct the import trade? Those formalities we are going to learn in this particular session. It's not like your internal trade where you can just go door to door and sell the product. Here, we are going to sell the product with different countries or buy from different countries. So, there are some rules and regulations called formalities. If you look on the screen, I have written the formalities for export as well as for import. Now, each formality I am going to discuss with you all in detail. So, the first formality when it comes to export is you need to have, first thing is enquiries and quotation. Export, in the sense you want to send the goods to some other country. So, first you will make the enquiry and you will try to get the quotations. Enquiry in the sense you are supposed to send a written request regarding the information or what kind of service they need from you. And based on that inquiry, we are supposed to give the quotation. Quotation in the sense the price at what we are ready to sell our product. And once that price is fixed, delivery time is fixed, all these basic things are done, then comes the placing of order, which we call indent. The technical name for order is indent. And this indent is nothing but it is an offer made by the foreign buyer. It is an offer made by the foreign buyer, means his willingness to buy the product from you. And that indent is of two types here. One we call the closed indent and one we call the open indent. When instructions are given regarding packing, regarding the mode of transport and all, we call it as an open indent. We call it as an open indent. Then comes, once the indent is done, that is you have received the order, the next step is you directly cannot send the goods to the person, that is to the buyer who gave you who placed order with you. Then what is to be done? It's not like you can sell door to door, I told. Then you have to first secure the license. You have to obtain the license, in the sense you have to apply for the license. And that license you have to obtain from the Import and Export Control Act. In the sense you have to apply for the obtaining the license, securing the license. And if that particular Chamber of Commerce, that is the organization called Import and Export, under the Import and Export Control Act, if they will give the license, based on that license you can export the goods. Sir, without obtaining the license or without securing the license, if I sell the goods, if I send the goods, in fact, what it is? It will become smuggling. It will lead to the smuggling, which you know. Then comes, depending on the quota permit dear, because for goods for our country are also important. Thereby, they will observe everything, whether the goods what you are sending, are they sufficient or are they in excess or they are not sufficient. So, depending on the quota, their goods, the permission will be given, the license will be given to you. And then we have to fulfill exchange requirement. In the sense, money, the currency, exchange rate, what we call. You know, the currency of our country is in terms of money, whereas the currency of America is in terms of dollars. Whereas if you go to UK and all, we have pound. Like that, we have to see that there is fulfillment of exchange regulation. And where we are going to do this? This is done by the apex bank of the country, which is called Reserve Bank of India. That is in our country we are talking. So RBI will regulate, will give you all the details that how you are going to exchange the currency. And then comes the most important one, that is letter of credit. Dear students, you know that you as a seller and the buyer of foreign country, you may not be knowing each other. You may not be knowing each other. And here when it comes to trade, it is not the matter of 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 1000 rupees or lakh rupees. It goes in thousands of crores of rupees, we can tell, export and import. Thereby, as a seller, that is as an exporter, you have to have some sort of confidence that the buyer is going to pay the payment. Thereby what we do? We ask the buyer, the foreign buyer, to give some sort of security. So what he has to do? He has to go to his banker, that is from his country where he resides. In that country, he has to approach his banker and give the letter, bring one letter. And that letter, it is containing the details that is issued by the bank, foreign bank, that is importer's bank you can call. It contains that this particular person with whom you are going to deal will make the payment on time. And if he fails, the bank, that is the foreign country bank, gives you the assurance that they will honor your payments. Like that, the letter of credit is nothing but a credit issued by the foreign bank in favor of exporter, stating that the person with whom he is dealing is a credit worthy person, will make prompt payments. Like that, we have the letter of credit. So what happened now? We have got the order, we have entered, we obtained license, we have even received the letter of credit. Now it is the time to send the goods. How we are going to send the goods? And for sending the goods, we need to book the transport. We cannot send by road or we cannot send by railway. It's foreign country. Thereby, usually we enter into a contract with shipping companies. Shipping companies. Okay? We keep in mind, shipping companies. Once the importer's creditworthiness is satisfied, yes, we can send the goods to him. Then we have to go for booking the ship. You know the difference between ship and a boat. Boat is used for fun, recreation and all, whereas ship is one which carries the goods. So, we have to enter into agreement with the shipping company, and that shipping company, how they are going to enter, how we are going to enter with them into the agreement. Then they say that we have to hire the space in the ship. The ship is very big. Okay, in that, according to the requirement, the quantity of goods what you are sending, you have to enter into the agreement. Simple like what? When you are traveling somewhere, you will book your ticket. If you are going alone, you will book one ticket. If two are going, you will book two tickets. Like that here, depending on the quantity, you have to book the space with the ship. That is, you will enter into the agreement with the shipping company. Then, if you are booking the entire ship, that is entire ship, space in the ship, we call it as charter party. Keep in mind, we call it as charter party dear. Entire ship we have booked, then it is called charter party, which means that only your goods will be carried in that ship. Charter, personal it will become. Then comes the charter party. So what will happen in charter party? Since we have booked entire space in the ship, only from our place to the place of destination, the goods will be carried. No other person goods will be carried in that place. So, charter party is a booking of ship, entire space in the ship. Then exchange rate, I told you. What is exchange rate? Nothing but converting our currency into some other's currency, or the rate at which the foreign currency is converted into Indian currency. And this is all done by RBI, Reserve Bank of India. Then comes packing and forwarding. Packing and forwarding, very important. Packing. Why? Because the goods has to travel a long distance. So they have to be properly packed. As I told you that they will be open and close indent. According to the orders given in the indent, packing should be done. Because packing is important for the reason that the goods should not be spoiled. When they are traveling by ship, moisture will be there. So many, insects will be there, which may destroy the goods. So properly the goods should be wrapped. How they should be wrapped? Then they should be wrapped according to the instructions of the importer. Whatever instructions he gave, accordingly we have to wrap the goods so that they will not be spoiled. And once the goods are packed, they should be labeled properly. We should write the name, destination clearly so that it can reach the person easily. And then once the packing and everything is done, we have to take the goods to the shipping company. That is, we have to hand over the goods to whom now? To the shipping company. But before that, we have to fulfill some customs formalities. Custom formalities we call. Now, what are custom formalities? Custom formalities are nothing but some sort of international formalities we call here. Say, for example, when you buy the goods from local area, generally what we see, let me say from Secunderabad you are buying, and if you are going towards Bolaram, in between you will get the toll tax. You have to pay, in the sense from one area to other area. Like that here also, when goods are transported from one country to other country, they fall in the purview of the customs authorities. Why the custom authorities? So that they will check that they are not smuggling type and all. So custom formalities are to be fulfilled. So what they'll do now? To fulfill the customs formality, the exporter has to prepare the shipping bill. Keep in mind, the shipping bill, what was prepared? No, they'll prepare in triplicate. 3 copies they'll prepare and one they'll hand over to the customs authorities. And then comes custom formalities over. Now the time is for what we said. We are supposed to give the goods in the hands of the shipping company. Now is the important one. In the ship, who will be there? The captain will be there to receive your goods, dear. And this captain of the ship what he is going to do? He will receive the goods and he will issue one receipt to you, which is called mate's receipt. What it is called? It is called mate's receipt. And that mate's receipt is an evidence that the goods are received on the board. Board doesn't mean this board, dear. Board means the ship, vessel, what we call. Again, vessel doesn't mean the vessels which are at the home. Vessel is the word in our commerce used for ship. Please don't use the word boat also. Board, ship, vessel are nothing but they are the synonyms used for the ship only. So what the mate will do? Mate is nothing but the captain and his subordinates. They will receive the goods and they will keep on to the board. And what they will do? They will issue the mate's receipt. Again, if the goods are received in good condition, dear, they will issue that the mate's receipt is a clear receipt. But sometimes there may be some defect in the packing or something. That time they will receive the foul mate's receipt. And after that, what will happen? After the goods are being received by the dock authorities, that is by the captain of the ship and all, they will issue the bill of lading, I told you. As I told you in the mate receipts only, the mate receipts continuation we are seeing now, bill of lading. Nothing but that will be the official receipt that was given by the mate. Now it is given by the official receipt acknowledging that the goods are on the board. And again, as I told you, if there are any defects in the packing or anything, they will issue foul bill of lading. And if the goods are received in the good condition, all the formalities, everything are good, they will issue clean bill of lading. So expected questions, I'll come to that. Then comes what to do, sir. When the goods are traveling, when the goods are transporting, you know, the element of risk will be there. And that element of risk we can avoid by taking insurance. And in foreign trade, it is compulsory that you have to insure your goods. And what type of insurance policy we'll take? We'll take marine insurance policy. And in that marine insurance policy, your goods will be insured from the place of source to the place of destination or for a particular period of time, dear. And then comes, we have to produce one certificate of origin. Now, why this certificate of origin is important? This certificate of origin is issued by Chamber of Commerce, which states that the goods belong to the particular country from where they are being exported. And this certificate of origin is not a normal document, dear. It is very important. It not only states the origin, but it helps you to get the lower tariff. In the sense, tax rate and also can be reduced. Because there are some countries, from those countries, if goods are exported, on those goods, there is less tax. Lower tariff rates are there. And this certificate of origin is not issued by anyone. It can be issued only by Chamber of Commerce. And then comes the consular invoice. The next step is making the consular invoice. What do you make consular invoice? You know that once the goods they receive, once the goods we give to the mates or whoever, they have to check. They will open and check. So what will happen? Delay will be there. So we'll make one document, consular invoice, which is going to state that the goods are in good condition. The goods, whatever are written, are in the good manner. Like that, assessing the value of goods and all, everything is involved so that there won't be any delay of time. That is called consular invoice. And once the consular invoice and everything is given, the goods will start their journey. The goods will reach to their destination. That is to the foreign country. That is to the other party called your buyer from who has insisted to buy the goods. And then what will happen in the last stage? It is all about your procuring of payments. You can secure the payments. How the payments can be made? Already I told you letter of credit was issued. So we have known his credit worthiness. Now what the buyer will do? The buyer will pay the amount. He has to pay the amount. So what the exporter, that is what we will do. We may draw the bill. We may draw the bill. In the sense, a bill of exchange will draw on the importer. It's nothing but acknowledgement that he's going to pay the money. Or sometimes what we can do, we can ask him to go for accommodation of bill also. Here, the bills of exchange, like bills receivable will draw, and what we'll do, that bills of receivable is a negotiable instrument. So we need not wait till the payment is made. Since the consent is given by who? By the importer, that bills of exchange we have drawn on him. So we can discount with the banker and get the payment. And once he pays, we can remit the amount to the bank. Like that, the export procedure it goes. In the similar manner, the reverse comes for the import procedure. Again, procuring the license. Already I told you, we have to procure the license, obtaining what? Exchange. Nothing but it goes in a different manner here. How it comes. Okay. So the different pattern. Here one last point what we can see is, once the goods are imported, okay, till the shipping documents and all that formalities are over, same it will be. Then the goods will come into our country. I'm talking about import. Once the goods they come into our country, once they come to our port, let me say for example, they have come to Visakhapatnam or Chennai or Mumbai port, we'll go and we'll take what's a delivery. So how to take the delivery? Then to take the delivery, we have to submit again the documents. And once we submit the documents, they will, like all the formalities, they'll think all the formalities are done and they will give the goods. And what will happen sometimes? Sometimes you may not have money to pay duties. Duties in the sense tax and all. That time, the seaport people, that is the seaport authorities, they are giving you a facility of storing the goods in the warehouses. And those warehouses which are established near the port dear, okay, near the seaport or airport or whatever you call, we call them as the bonded warehouse, where we can store the goods for certain period of time. One way. Second, what happens? Re-export. As I told you, you know the goods we have purchased and now we have to send them to some other country. So instead of bringing the goods into our godown, our warehouse, again transporting them is a time consuming. So what we'll do? We'll keep the those goods in that warehouse. Like that, we have the aspect of import formalities and export formalities. Now, what are the expected questions from this chapter? Last session, I told you the difference between home trade and foreign trade here that you can expect. Apart from that, likely from this international trade, we expect mostly 2 marks questions, and the selected questions you can make a note. One is about indent, one is mate's receipt, charter party, bill of lading, exchange rate. These are the 5 questions, the most important one for 2 marks. I repeat, mate's receipt, indent, third one, your charter party, bill of lading, and your exchange rate. Among this, if you ask me, I expect charter party and exchange rate to be the most important one for your examination. So this was all about your international trade in this session, dear. Very simple formalities you have to learn, then differences and benefits. As I told you, what are the benefits of the international trade? Now, just let me tell you about special economic zones and export processing zones, dear. No doubt it is deleted this year, but still as a matter for understanding, we'll just see special economic zones and export processing zones in simple. Special economic zones are the areas where the trade laws in the sense the rules what are applicable will be less. Okay, in the sense, if you fall in the special economic zone, the trade laws will be different. Trade laws will be different. And if you're not falling in that zone, then the trade laws will be different. So this particular special economic zones, why they are introduced? They are introduced to attract FDI, foreign direct investments, and also to adopt the latest technology dear. And those whoever are falling under this special economic zones, as I told you, for them the trade laws are different. So what benefit they get? They get the benefit of free duty. They get benefit of tax incentives. They get the benefit of what? Competitive infrastructure and all. Like that, the special economic zones we have there. And this special economic zones, it comprises of what? First one is free trade zone. Second, we have export processing zone. And third, we have free zone. Carefully you see. First one, free trade zone. Second, we have export processing zone, free zone, and industrial parks we have. Now, what do you mean by free trade zone? Nothing but it is a geographical area we can call where goods may be landed, stored, handled, manufactured under specific custom regulations. Whereas your free zone, when it comes to free zone, it is an area where the goods may be received and stored without the payment of duty. No duty is there. In the sense, no tax is involved. Like that industrial park. What do you mean industrial park? Nothing but it is an area or a zone you can call which is planned for the purpose of industrial development. Like IT hubs and all we have. Like that, these particular special economic zones are established for the betterment of the society. So just to have a knowledge, I have shared with you special economic zones. So having said this, we can say that presently in Telangana, like we have biotechnology, information technology, then information technology enabled services, gems and jewelries, pharmaceuticals, aeroscope, aviation, all these are falling under the special economic zones in India. In Telangana. Then if you ask me, sir, like where we find the special economic zones, then in Telangana, in Hyderabad, you know, we have high-tech city, Gachibowli we have, these all are falling under the category of special economic zones here. So just was an attempt to make you understand about the special economic zones. Though now, no doubt for this academic year, it is deleted from the syllabus, but having knowledge is always good. Having said this, I would like to conclude this session by thanking you all for listening me patiently. Also, hope you have understood the topic internal trade and international trade which I have explained. Revise, stay focused, stay blessed, come up with the shining colors in your life and upkeep the name of our commerce subject. God bless you all. Thank you. Stay blessed. Stay focused. God bless you all. Thank you.